We are down here and we are doing stuff, good stuff in fact, and today we are very pleased to welcome two guests. We were expecting one and we got two for the price of one. We have got Nikki and Kim. They are from, and I'm reading from their shirt, the Surfcoast community-led safe space, which is based in Torquay. Welcome Kim, welcome Nikki.
Thank you for having us.
Tell us, I think there's something in the name, I could be wrong, but what is the Surfcoast community-led safe space? Oh, hang on. Why aren't you working? You mustn't be turned on. Are you turned on, so to speak? Yeah, there we go. Rob will work it out.
Okay. Are we
We can hear you now.
Oh, beautiful. Yes. So, so the Surfcoast Community Safe Space is a safe space for people who might be, or who can come in and have a chat, might be going through a bit of a difficult time, and the safe space, it's a drop-in service. So what it is we're open from 1:30 till 4 on a Saturday, and we're running out of the Torquay Community House, and so we will have volunteers there who are there and trained and able to sort of have a bit of a chat with someone. But you don't have to be having a difficult time to come in. It's really sort of about building those community connections. We know that sometimes people can be, a bit isolated and not as connected socially as we would like, and so it's just providing a space for the community to come in. The basis of the service is really we're auspiced by an organisation called Roses in the Ocean, and Roses in the Ocean is the peak body for the lived experience of a suicide in Australia, and so everybody who is volunteering and on the working group with the safe space has a lived experience of suicide, whether that is that we have lived with our own thoughts, perhaps had an attempt, supported someone through suicidal crisis, or bereaved. So whilst we all have different experiences, everybody who's involved with the safe space does have a lived experience of suicide.
And I would have thought, Nikki, that we spoke to someone who was well known to you a couple of weeks ago called Tim, and he was part of the Spoke with a Bloke thing. In so many cases, I would have thought a good starting point is to sit down and talk to somebody, not a psychologist necessarily or a trained psychiatrist, but just someone who's got two or those things on the side of their head and just listens. Is that fair?
Absolutely, yes. So as Kim mentioned, this is non-clinical, and the idea is that it's just time. I think in the clinical setting, there's not the time for people to have long, lengthy conversations, whereas with the safe space, people can come and have a cup of tea and just have someone to sit with. And we're not there to solve people's problems. We are there just to listen and work through together with them maybe some solutions or things that they can focus on, just so that they feel like they're supported and they've got somebody to talk to.
Yeah, I think the other thing that sits in my mind is there's a whole lot of organisations that do that sort of stuff, and I'm not having a crack at them at all, but things like church groups, for example, or youth groups who are, to an extent, almost looking to recruit, if that's not unfair, whereas often it's just a case, no pressure, I just want to sit and talk to somebody. I've got this thing that I do on a Saturday morning for 2 hours where I sit and talk to him, and and other folk as well, and it's just about getting thoughts out of your head. Is that where we're up to, Kim? Is that the kind of thing we're talking about? Just sitting down and chatting?
100%. Look, 100%. And sometimes people do have good supports in other ways. They might have good friends. They might actually have good clinical supports.
And I'm not bagging that in any way, shape or form.
100%. But, sometimes what people need is to be able to sit and have a chat, and often sit and have a chat with someone who, as I say, everyone's lived experience is different, but have a chat with someone who gets it, someone who's been through a difficult time, who has had to tap into strategies and ways of getting through things, and understanding, some understanding of what it might be like for what they might be experiencing. So, and it is just a space to be. It's a space to just come in, sit, have a cuppa, have a chat. We will, when people come in, we will offer the opportunity of a one-on-one chat if people feel like they feel more comfortable just having a chat with one person. But people can come in and join a group. We'll also have sort of some sensory support resources, colouring, all sorts of things, fidget tools and that sort of thing, just, so that people can be doing things whilst they're having a chat as well, because sometimes those side-by-side conversations are more comfortable for people than a face-to-face kind of conversation.
We chat a bit in this space about people having issues. Sometimes they take it on themselves, Nikki, and think that they're the only ones suffering. But in this case, once you find that there's someone else experiencing exactly what you are, that immediately takes an enormous amount of pressure off, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think when you go into a space and you know that everybody has a lived experience of suicide, it's a completely different environment. And also to be able to share that, and people know that are listening to you know. Well, we don't know everybody's experience, of course, but you can relate to the distress for sure. Yeah.
I did a very short stint at Beyond Blue and in a corporate sense, but picked up some of the vibes. And I think one of the issues that comes regularly through is that people feel like if they're going to be listening, they need to have a solution. And often, the easiest thing is to say, don't come and talk to me about it, because if you talk to me about it, I've got to come up with an answer, and that's not what this is about at all. And again, spoke to a bloke, I think I mentioned to you when I was talking to you during the week, I was in Queensland last week where I spoke to a bloke shirt on, and a bloke came over and said, thank you, it's just what I needed, I just need to go for a walk and talk to someone. It wasn't about talk about my problems or talk about this issue I was dealing with, I just wanted to chat. And this sounds to me like doing exactly that without having to do the exercise. Even better.
Yeah, funny you should say that about the Spoke to the Bloke T-shirt. I was wearing it at the gym the other day.
Not mine, incidentally.
Not your T-shirt. Mine's blue. You've got a black one.
I've got a blue one.
Yeah. And someone came up to me and said, tell me about Spoke to a Bloke. And I told him, and he said, have you heard about the safe space here in Torquay?
Have I heard of it?
Have I heard about it?
Yeah. But I think where we're getting to, and, I know I get myself into trouble when I say this, but I really don't like the fact that we need an Are You OK Day, because it sounds like for the other 364 days, you must be. We've got to a situation, I think social media's got something to do with it. I think COVID had something to do with it. I think pressure of day-to-day work and stuff has got a lot to do with it. But we just don't want to talk to people anymore. And we text people. We don't ring people. We text people. We stick things on social media. Whereas here we are sitting in the middle of literally in the main street, and we're telling people whether they like it or not. Having a chat is so important.
It is. Look, and I think, one of the things with the Are You OK is that, this is a great campaign, of course, Are You OK?
Again, not bagging it.
100%, encourage people to ask, are you OK? But then what?
Yeah.
Right. Then what? Then how do you, and I think that, sometimes people don't ask, are you OK? Because they are worried about what they will hear back. And so this is about getting comfortable with those uncomfortable conversations as well, and leaning into them and sort of, yeah. Because
I think the other thing, I reckon, it becomes a competition. And I've written a blog about this somewhere about, tell me about it, right? So you say to someone, so how's your week going? Yeah, pretty good. Oh, I've got a bit of work pressure. Oh, tell me about it. That doesn't mean tell me about it. What it means is you reckon you're having a bad week. Have a crack at this one. And it becomes oh, really? Well, let me tell you. And it becomes a competition. It's not about that. It's about listening and saying, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. As Kim touched on before, at the moment we're only doing one afternoon on a Saturday weekly, and but we're hoping to extend that service down the track and maybe have some more focus groups and officer service. But the other thing that Roses in the Ocean does offer is a warm line. And Kim, you can probably talk more about that because you do the warm lining.
I do, yeah. So I've been volunteering on the warm line for about 4 years now, and so.
Sorry, a warm line being a telephone number.
A warm line as opposed to a hotline. So
right.
As a hotline, so you would call the number, someone on the other end picks up and speaks to you. But a warm line, the warm line is so someone would call who's looking for support and leave a message, or there's an online form that they can complete, and then that person who's wanting support is then allocated to a volunteer with similar lived experience, and then a volunteer will call that person back to provide some support and have a chat with them within 24 hours. And so because we are, as Nikki just mentioned, we are only open on a Saturday afternoon at this point in time, because this is our first day of open.
Woohoo! Scoop!
And so, so we would encourage people to reach out to the warm line, which is the same organisation. It sits under the same organisation, non-clinical, non-crisis support. And so we would encourage people to reach out to the warm line in the interim.
So you're kicking off this afternoon at 2 o'clock, did you say? I've had so many dates, 1:30. I've had so many times that dates go through my head today. 1:30 today at the Torquay Community Centre, which is in Torquay, obviously.
Price Street.
Which street?
Price
Street. So get down to Price Street. If you're looking for someone to chat to, these two fine people here will be there along with some others, I suspect. You won't be on your own.
Yeah, there'll be a few of us down there.
Yeah, so that'll be a great thing to do. If you're in Torquay, or even if you're not, get in the car, whistle down. I know it costs you a few dollars in petrol at the moment. There's no public transport, is there, down there?
Yes.
There is. Oh,
Yes.
okay. And
There's
it's
no
free.
train yet, but there is
No, it's
buses.
free. But of course, we always finish these kind of conversations with two very important telephone numbers, folks. If anything we've spoken about today has triggered anything in your mind, Beyond Blue are a wonderful organisation. You can call them on 1300 22 4636. And the other one, probably a little bit more urgent requirement, is Lifeline 131114. That's 13 11 14. All the very best, Nikki and Kim, for this venture. You were going to say something, weren't you?
Yes, you're correct. Just before we go,
Yep.
can I just mention that if anybody has a lived experience of suicide and wants to be a volunteer,
Oh, yeah?
they can get onto the Roses in the Ocean website and have a look at the information about volunteering and going through the process of
Getting
being
through.
educated
Yep.
for that. Yeah.
And they now have a very, very easy to find Facebook page and Instagram page. Just look for Surfcoast Safe Space. They're the 4 magic words. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Kim. You're doing a wonderful... They're doing good stuff, Rob, aren't they? They are doing good stuff.